After 217 days of no racing, finally, Formula One returned. And boy did it do it in style, with an explosive and thrilling season opener in Austria. Here are our winners and losers from the wild 2020 Austrian GP. 4 months after the original season opening Australian Grand Prix was cancelled at the 11th hour, and the subsequent criticism that fell the sport's way for its poor handling of the situation, F1 couldn't have hoped for a better start to the campaign. Not only did the racing deliver on track with an incident-filled and action-packed Grand Prix that only saw 11 drivers take the checkered flag, but F1 also succeeded in its bid to resume the heavily delayed season in a safe manner with its closed-door format. F1 has created a controlled biosphere environment thanks to months of rigorous planning to get the season off the ground, and the first race in Austria proved a triumph. F1's strict testing procedure resulted in no positive cases of COVID-19 in more than 4,000 tests carried out across the opening weekend. The biggest shame was that no fans could be present in the grandstands to enjoy what was an exhilarating race to kickstart a much anticipated and eagerly awaited 2020 season. It was truly worth waiting for. What has happened to Ferrari? F1's most famous team is our first loser of the weekend after an extremely lackluster race, which highlighted the fact that Ferrari appears to have lost around a second in performance compared to last season. Charles Leclerc saved Ferrari's blushes with a superb drive to salvage an unexpected second place on race day, having only just sneaked through into Q3 and qualified 7th. But in contrast, teammate Sebastian Vettel, who was leaving Ferrari when his contract expires at the end of the year, endured a disastrous weekend. First, he was eliminated in Q2 and left to settle with 11th on the grid, before his struggles continued into the race. The 4 times world champion suffered a clumsy spin after tangling with McLaren's Carlos Sainz, the driver who will replace him at Ferrari next year, and dropped a plumb last, before recovering to finish 10th out of just 11 runners who made it to the end. Vettel noted he was happy to have only spun once after describing his 2020 Ferrari as undrivable in Austria, having complained about a lack of grip and overall stability in his car. With little time to address the issues between back-to-back races, the Italian squad will be bracing itself for another tough weekend. Valtteri Bottas drew first blood in the title race with a perfect start to his campaign, first pipping Mercedes teammate and championship favourite Lewis Hamilton to pole position before going on to lead all 71 laps en route to his 8th career victory. It wasn't all plain sailing for the Finn, however. He had to negotiate 3 safety car restarts, all of which he nailed, as well as nursing sensor problems relating to his gearbox that plagued both Mercedes cars and had the team seriously concerned about facing a repeat of its double retirement from 2018. That's all while coming under intense, race-long pressure from Hamilton. But Bottas held his nerve and didn't put a foot wrong, as he moved into an early 13-point lead in the championship. What's more, Mercedes looks to have further strengthened its superiority over the rest of the field amid a dominant display throughout the weekend. Red Bull had high hopes of challenging Mercedes this year for both world championships, but the team has already suffered a major blow to its bid with a non-score from the opening round. Max Verstappen, the driver tipped to give reigning world champion Hamilton the biggest headache this year, wound up half a second adrift of the dominant Mercedes pair in qualifying, and lacked pace to keep up with the front-running duo in the opening stint, though he was on harder tyres with Red Bull alternating its strategy in a bid to get in the mix for victory. But any hopes of doing that were crushed on lap 11, when Verstappen suddenly slowed coming out of turn 1 and dropped down the order. The Dutchman was ultimately forced into retirement with a suspected electrical issue on his RB16. Red Bull's pain was doubled late on when Alex Albon's race also ended after coming together with Hamilton at turn 4. Albon had been attempting a bold around the outside pass, having switched onto soft tyres following the final safety car period when the pair collided. Without the collision, both he and the team felt the win was possible. McLaren headed into the new campaign quietly confident but wary about its prospects after a brilliant last year. But any concerns would have been quickly eradicated thanks to its performance in Austria. Lando Norris came of age with his best performance to date since making his Grand Prix debut in 2019. Norris impressed on his way to claiming 4th on the grid with an effort that was just over 0.6 seconds shy of Bottas's pole lap, before achieving his maiden F1 podium with a sublime drive on Sunday. In a sensational climax to the race, the Briton posted the fastest lap of the race on the final lap to take advantage of a time penalty for Hamilton and become the 3rd youngest driver in F1 history to stand on the rostrum in 3rd place. Teammate Carlos Sainz capped off a strong weekend for the Woking outfit by finishing 5th. A 26-point haul puts McLaren second in the championship standings behind only Mercedes. Notable mentions must also go to Racing Point and Williams, with both teams enjoying better fortunes this season with their much improved respective 2020 cars. For the second year in a row, Hamilton lost out to Valtteri Bottas at the first race of the season. But unlike last year in Austria when he finished runner-up to Bottas, Hamilton was off the podium this time round. Bottas turned the tables on Hamilton in qualifying and claimed pole by the finest of margins, and it was on Saturday where Hamilton's weekend began to unravel. The Briton was hit with a 3-place grid drop just an hour before the race for failing to slow sufficiently for yellow flags in Q3 caused, rather ironically, by Bottas after he had taken a trip across the grass. Things got worse in the race after an initial promising start saw Hamilton work his way up to the second from fifth. He had applied race-long pressure to Bottas and looked to be the quicker of the two Mercedes, but found himself defending from the racy Albon, who was on much fresher and gripper rubber following a pit stop during the final safety car period. As Albon launched his attack around the outside at turn 4, Hamilton held his line and his front wheel connected with Albon's right rear, sending the Red Bull driver spinning off into the gravel. Hamilton received a 5-second time penalty as punishment and dropped from second on the road to fourth once it was applied immediately after the race concluded. With a 13-point deficit to Bottas in the championship, Hamilton finds himself with work to do heading into the second event in Austria this weekend. Alexa, play See You Again by Wiz Khalifa. Our final loser of the day is Kimi Raikkonen's tyre. Sadly, this tyre's life was short-lived due to a cross-threaded wheel nut which led to the wheel not being fitted correctly and departing from us on lap 55 of 71. The tyre did have an action-packed bounce off the Finn's car, waving to Sebastian Vettel briefly before reaching its final resting place. Kimi, you may not have the drink, but we hope you will have the tyre next week. Who is your biggest winner and loser at the Austrian GP? What do you think of our list? Did we get it right? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Crash for more Formula 1 content.